offline, it was, thank you. How can we make Irmo a better place to live? And one of the things that I thought about was, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And hopefully this is a productive conversation and we can have more of these, not just on roads and streets and bikes and living in Irmo, but other topics as well. But it came around the concept of just being safe around your home and being able to use the streets for things other than just driving, and having safer streets generally. How do we calm traffic and how do we calm people who are speeding? What I want to tell you what I want to get out of tonight. Open, honest, polite conversation. What I don't want is any negativity. So eye rolling, that's not going to work, it's been tried. We tried that. Shooting down someone else, it'll never happen, all that kind of stuff. That's not the focus of tonight. Even if you think it's not going to work, that's cool. I still want to hear about it. And I want to make sure everyone has a chance to speak. So if you have something you want to talk about, that's fine. And outcome, our goal tonight, hey Kelly, Councilman Kelly Bush, is a broad understanding. I mean, you're here for your reason, right? And I want to make sure that we all hear that. There's going to be a lot of different topics and things that are brought up today. Brainstorming ideas of things that we can do to improve the situation of living here. And a couple of like truly actionable items, things that we can do or try to do. And maybe you saw a sign-in sheet, which some of you did and some of you didn't, but if on the way out you're interested in continuing the conversation or being in like a working group on this, go ahead and put your name and information down there. So the reason why, or what prompted me to have this was I got a Facebook message from someone who said every night, now I don't know if it's really every night or not, but every night people are speeding on the road and I'm afraid of even stepping foot on my road because people are going so fast and there's nothing that we can do about it. Okay. And then I've heard a common complaint about people who are, I like to bike and I feel it's dangerous for me to bike on the road. And I had one lady who you might have seen on Facebook who said, I'm afraid of walking with my dog on the sidewalk because, there are dogs and people are speeding and I don't know, it's a whole bunch of different issues. So one thing that I have read quite a bit about is something called traffic calming. Have any of you heard of that? So I know you have, Mr. Chitwood. The concept of intentionally slowing down traffic, and not just with speed limits, because you can change the speed limit to whatever you want and it won't necessarily have an outcome. I mean, we all know speed limits where people go faster than they should. So there are a lot of other ways to slow down traffic besides just changing the speed limit. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. One really good idea, and I think for a chance for me to pass the baton is for me to pass this to Mr. Chitwood, who approached me with an idea.
Okay. Well, there's so many different people that have looked at this over the years. And I mean, we're not the first ones. And we've all had essentially the same complaint now for as long as we've been here. And but I did want to, without being negative, point out that there has been an answer given over and over and over again, and I'm not willing to accept that answer. And that is, the state won't do it, the county won't do it, they'll let you do it, but where it stopped. And there was no of us to get over that issue, to convince council. I don't even know that could be. That could have just been talk. Don't know that. So, I mean, there is a legal, obviously, with one that's in front of Corley to take the crosswalk and put a hump there and slow everybody down. In my opinion, that is the worst stretch of road. People fly on there. I don't really need this, you know.
It's for recording.
Okay. The people, I mean, if you've ever been there at night, that is the part of the cut through. And they come through on Royal Tower and they're heading somewhere else on Highway 6 or wherever. And they're using Friars Gate as a cut through. And they turn on Brickling and then they turn and weave and they get on Chadford and they fly down there. And if you talk to some, you've seen it on Facebook, some of the people that have lived down there over the years and everything, it is truly horrendous. But if you had the one traffic calming hump there, then if the speeder comes flying down through there and tears up his car, will Irmo get sued? I don't know the answer to that. The county states that you're legally responsible. I don't know what that means. I would really love to know that. I mean, what is the real risk? I mean, that goes back to the same tired argument that we had about the parks. Well, the parks have all this liability attached to them, yeah, but we still want parks. We still enjoy our parks, you know. I mean, at some point in time, and we have insurance. We don't want bad things to happen, but we have insurance, and so that's where I am. I'm really thinking smaller than Eric. Okay, I'd just like to see any of these things done, because I mean, I don't know how many times, you know, Facebook people, and this has been going on forever, and we don't ever get it done. Sure.
Have we ever gotten an opinion from the Attorney General on the liability risk?
Not to my knowledge. We were told by the county and accepted that answer. I guess that's, well, okay. Yeah.
Let me throw this at you. The roads don't belong to Irmo, either belong to the state or one of the counties. Counties don't want the liability of putting a speed bump out there.
Right.
It's not us taking it on, it's them.
Well, they don't want it.
They don't want
I understand, and they try to make it sound like, oh, it's a terrible thing if you take that on, you're going to bankrupt the town. And I mean, I couldn't believe the stuff that I heard. But
And to back Whit up on that, I would agree with that, Whit. If it's a SCDOT maintained road, you probably can't do it. But if it's a road that's maintained by a homeowners association or a private road, the responsibility would maybe ask the town's attorney about this, but I would think you could do it on a private road, on a homeowner association maintained road.
That's a good point. Also, you said can't do it. We can't say can't tonight. And I just want to acknowledge the mayor is here as well. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that the city of Forest Acres has several roads with speed bumps on them. And that's Richland County and a city. So it can be done. I don't know what's special about Forest Acres in that regard.
Hello, my name is Clint Scoville, and I actually work for the DOT. There are other methods. There are other ways of calming traffic besides humps. I mean, you get narrow lanes, rumble strips, parking on streets. I mean, there's a lot of ways to calm traffic.
So what we started with was traffic calming, and we got hot and heavy real quick, which is fine. But just to continue on that thread, and then we'll jump down. If that gets tired, then we'll move on to whatever's next. So anyone else have anything on slowing down traffic? Any thoughts or any feedback on that? Yeah.
Several years ago, I don't think I need that. Several years ago, when we had the forum out at Saluda Shoals to talk about the St. Andrews corridor, the designers there came back with some ideas of how we could slow traffic and make it more pedestrian friendly down St. Andrews Road. And I would think some of those ideas might apply to Lake Murray Boulevard. And one of them that kind of is consistent with Irmo's desire for beautification as well as making it more pedestrian friendly is doing a road diet in areas where you could take out some of the asphalt down that center lane of Lake Murray Boulevard. Now, I'm not a engineer, designer, or anything, but I've got some very beautiful pictures of what they said that would look like on St. Andrews Road, and I think there's some opportunity. There may be some opportunities on Lake Murray Boulevard to consider the same thing. Now, you're talking about probably a lot of money, but still an idea.
I saw another hand on that. Yeah.
Stop signs like speed limits seem to be aspirational in the age that we live in, but they do tend to slow traffic down. I mean, most folks won't come to a complete stop, but they will slow down for a stop sign. And particularly in residential areas, I think that helps accomplish what you're talking about.
I just had a general question, wondering with the humps or whatever they're called. I moved here from Charlotte, and there's hundreds in residential, and I just ask, have you ever reached out to a city to say what they do about their liability, or just to say, hey, how do you handle this? You do it successfully. You're a big city. You do it. There are hundreds of them in the residential areas. I'm sure they've had the same problem. You could just ask.
More speeding tickets? Make Irmo a speed trap town again.
Yeah, put the four-way stop back on the list. I mean, yes, people have brought it up before. People have put it and asked what the different things were. But, I mean, I must be missing something, but don't we know which intersections are the most dangerous ones in Irmo? I mean, we keep count of that. Okay, I think, my opinion, is that some of those same intersections are the same ones that would be effective at calming down the long stretches without a stop sign. It's Chadford, North Royal Tower, South Royal Tower, and Chadford. Just those two, I think, would slow down the most difficult or the most dangerous parts in that neighborhood. Now, I don't know Coatesworth as well, but there's a few sections of Coatesworth where I know they get moving pretty good. Fork Avenue would be the one. So
I will tell you I'm one of those people who cut through New Friars Gate on a daily basis, multiple times a day sometimes. But I do that because I want to go through the neighborhood, and I usually just drive through and do some other things. But what frustrates me, and I'm not living on those roads, okay? What frustrates me is that I'm in my vehicle and someone's always right up on my keister, and to the point where, especially at night, and the headlights are right up upon me. And I always think, now that I've become a councilman, and I've always been aware of this stuff, but my relationship with the police officers, getting to know them, I always just wonder, what if I was in a police car right now? What would I do, right? And what would be my best step for something like that? So I don't know the answer to that, but I certainly agree that we've got some issues there, and I'd like the feedback from the chief to tell us what that may or may not do from a stop sign / calming traffic. I don't know how we do that effectively. Maybe you can.
What exactly? What's your specific question, Councilman?
Where we might put those stop signs, where we might be able to put in, I don't know, we put in rumble strips or something. They do it on the highway now. If you veer off the highway, if you're just veering to the right, you're on I-77, you're going to hit those strips.
Yeah, so like the gentleman said from DOT earlier, we could probably get somebody from their department to make a recommendation. I'm sure they do that all over the state, but as far as where the stop signs go, North Royal and Chadford
if there was a four-way there, that would definitely slow traffic down. And then Chadford and South Royal, we've seen a lot of pretty gnarly collisions there, mainly because crossing over Chadford from South Royal Tower, there's usually somebody that's taking that chance. I say taking a chance because a speeder coming down Chadford, if they're doing over 40, then it's usually going to be a crash there. And then as far as the following too closely, at night especially, we have some ways to enforce that. Just visibility more than anything, but yeah, stop signs are definitely helpful. I've seen where, and I believe it's Waterford off of Dreher Shoals, even though it's not in town, they have some strategic areas where they've put stop signs, and I think they do that through the homeowners association, because you'll come up to that area and go, why is there a stop sign here? And people literally ask that, but they're stopping, and that's slowing them down. So just being able to strategize that, really.
Right, we're not talking about money.
And they seem to definitely slow down traffic, and it even reduces carbon emissions because people aren't sitting at stoplights and idling. But it seems to, it slows you down when you have to go through a roundabout, and it eliminates the whole stop sign, and they're pretty effective.
So that's a lot on traffic calming. I wanted to have Kelly, if you don't mind, would you, just speaking on traffic calming and creating better traffic patterns, I know you have a project that you and the mayor have been working on down by the Walmart. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
So along with traffic calming, we need to fix some of our intersections to where they make a little more sense. We had a Walmart came in about, I don't know, a dozen years ago or more and decided to build out towards Ballantyne and they improved the entire intersection, widened the road, put a traffic signal in. That would have been a great time to take, for example, Salem Church Road and run it straight through to that four-way intersection. But instead, it still comes up next to Irmo Outdoor Equipment, and people have used his parking lot as a left turn lane for decades. And so we're trying to put a project together with DOT and the counties, and what a nightmare that is. But anyway, we've got an engineering drawing, and we're working through that, but we need to identify some other intersections around town that need improvement. That right there, they brought up the accident statistics and things like that, and it's unfortunate. I don't know why it hasn't been addressed in the past. But the other issue is the growth around here is contributing. So Salem Church has turned into a massive subdivision. A lot more traffic coming through there. They use it as a cut through to start with, and then the additional residential neighborhoods that are going in. So that's a project on the books, but we need to identify, town people we need to come together and identify. So piggybacking on the traffic calming, we need to look at the town as a whole and identify the spots that really need it the most. And it sounds like Mr. Chitwood's got a pretty good handle on that area over there, but there may be other areas that we're, not recognizing. But I honestly think we do need a group within the town, as a town group that deals with traffic calming, things that need attention from a traffic standpoint, and be able to, set a direction, and then we can get behind it with the counties. That's the biggest issue we face is getting the dollars from the counties to be able to do anything.
And I saw a group, sorry. Yeah.
I can give you an example. Coming to the council meeting the other night. No, it wasn't. I was coming to meet with our town administrator. It was about 11:15 in the morning. There was a huge wreck right at the railroad tracks. This road right out here, Woodrow, is a problem child. Okay, I mean, you come out onto you come out onto Lake Murray Boulevard, it's a disaster, right? And that's how I go home when I leave here. Right? I take a right, I go to the intersection, and I'm looking and waiting and looking and waiting and looking, and then I forever, I forgot I don't have that little sporty car. Now I have a truck, and it just doesn't explode out of there as quick as I used to. So, I mean, there's a thought there that we put up no left turns, right? You can't take a left turn out of there. We got to do something dramatic, like maybe that road's even one way going this way in circles, and you have to circle around. There are some things that can be done that I think traffic signs will help. Jerry?
That same intersection, when you come from the dam up Lake Murray Boulevard, you cross the railroad tracks, and there's a turn lane there that doesn't appear to be wide enough for a vehicle. So they're in, I guess now, the middle lane, because you got the turn lane, the middle lane, and then the one against the curb. They stop traffic. And as we get with Malfunction Junction going to get the improvements, Lake Murray Boulevard's going to see, I mean, they're already seeing more and more traffic. And by making that coming out from Woodrow on this side, make it a right turn only. And then if you're coming up Lake Murray Boulevard from Arby's and all that, going toward the railroad tracks, make it where it's right turn only onto Woodrow, going down toward Domino's, whatever. And the same thing when they come out, they can only go right rather than blocking traffic or trying to beat the punch. I know I got a 450 horsepower truck, and I'm not going to risk it.
That's where you close your eyes and just, they hope you make it through. That was like one of the first things that Councilman Bush and I tried to do was make that just right turn only. And right turn in and right turn out, like that was it. Because you got two parallel roads plus the thing and the light and the train, and it's just, poor TD Bank, right? How many times is that?
If you look at, and unfortunately I've spent way too much time doing this, what is really causing the problem with the Lake Murray Boulevard traffic? And one of the big contributing factors, I think, is how much time the light has to be set to let the St. Andrews Road traffic that's turning left towards the dam. Now that turn lane backs up all the way past the school and way on down the street. Okay, they have to set the light long enough to let those people through. Everybody gets their turn. But by the time they do that, then Lake Murray Boulevard backs up. There is a lot of traffic on Lake Murray Boulevard, but that's not the only problem. It's that it's being funneled together at that time. So if you had, and I don't know that it doesn't fit in my mind very well, but there's some other things happening. If you had two lanes turning left there on the Lake Murray Boulevard, that could cut the time down for holding that light. And then, if you can hold that light open for another 30 or 45 seconds, you'll let another 100 cars go by. But it's tight there. You've got a railroad right away, you've got McDonald's, and you got BB&T. Now, you may have noticed that BB&T and all the other banks are all not real happy about being on corners because their people can't get in and out. And so they may not be planning on staying there, a birdie told me. So maybe there's room to shift the intersection over or something. But it's stepping back and looking to see what's actually causing that funneling is what somebody needs to do. A traffic engineer might be good. So
today at 3:30, it was from St. Andrews all the way down past Saxby's. Yeah. When I was coming home from work.
I believe it. I want to shift a little bit. So I know some of you here to talk about bikes and some of you here to talk about streetlights. So we'll hold bikes to next. I know some of you here just to complain about something. So like you have one thing that you want to complain about, so I want to hear that. So does anyone have any specific complaints that aren't about biking? You just got another complaint. You got a road you have a problem with. You have a street you have a problem with.
This isn't a complaint. It's feedback. Yeah, this is just feedback. It's not a complaint, but as Bob and I were walking up Columbia Avenue tonight, and the leaves are on the ground, and we can't see because there's no street light, thank you. then I said, wouldn't it be nice to have a street light somewhere along Columbia Avenue? Because there's a lot of walkers, actually, that our house backs up to that, and we see a lot of walkers and bicyclists, but it would certainly be a safety issue if we could get a street light there.
That's why I'm here. I've been here since September. I mean, I just bought a house, and I've only been here since September, and I'm baffled at the lack of streetlights. I just was really surprised. Like, if you turn on my street and you turn off your headlights, it's pitch black and it's scary. I've just never lived in a lot of places, as you've already gathered, but I've never seen the lack. I realize this has nothing to do with it, and there are no lights on the dam owned by the power company. And I thought that was weird. I realize that's not Irmo, but I think that's really weird. Oh, sorry. I think that's odd. Okay. But it's just, the street lights are scary during trick or treat. Like, it was these poor children. I don't know how they even found houses. Like, it was baffling to me, but that's why I'm here.
So more streetlights. And you know, it's funny because you'll also hear people say, well, I'm glad there aren't any streetlights because I like it dark. You know, they don't want the light pollution, right? So there's multiple sides to every issue, but I've definitely heard that concern before.
Just to follow up with what the young lady said, I bought a house 2 years ago in Friars Gate, and I want to cul-de-sac, Elstow. And what I ended up having to do, because it was so dark and I didn't know at the time that I could have possibly had someone to come out and do some research and see, but it's like dark. So what I ended up doing is going to the local, Mid-Carolina, and I just had them to install a light in the backyard, and then my neighbor across the street, to help with the darkness in the cul-de-sac, she just had another light, placed in her front yard. So now to make it a little more light, I don't know exactly where you live, but it's an option. And they come out, and I think it's an extra $15 a month or something like that. I mean, I don't, and they'll come out, they'll do the survey, they'll have Spectrum, AT&T, depending on where you're at, they'll come out, everybody will come out and kind of like get together, and they'll install it at no, cost to you. You just pay the monthly, yeah.
Yeah, it's not crazy. Yeah, it's not like some other utility things that we end up having to pay for in Friars Gate. Also, the town lights, the ones that the town has officially, are going from yellow to white. They're going to be much brighter, which is nice. I know that we just passed that.
Eric, you make a great point about people saying they don't want street lights shining into their bedroom window. And possibly if there's a committee that looks at this about lighting throughout the town, they can find other options that might not just be street lights. Maybe it's, lights that are on a short pole or a pillar. But I would think that there would be options so that there could be a combination to accommodate the need for lighting, but also to respect an individual's interest in not having a bright light into the bedroom.
The blackout curtains? Yeah. So I know there's at least one person interested in topics on biking in Irmo. And I know the 2 times I took my bike out, the tire got flat. I just haven't pumped it up. I ended up riding on the sidewalk because I was afraid to, and I'll admit it, because I was afraid to ride it on the road because people were going 50 miles an hour past me, and I didn't want to get knocked over. And I had a helmet, but that was about it. So I'd love to hear thoughts on biking and biking in Irmo as well. I know that you had.
I don't live in Irmo. I'm in Quail Valley, and I did vote for annexation years ago, but we didn't make it. We didn't make the cut. But I do ride in Irmo, and I love to ride in Irmo. You know, by and large, we've got in this neck of the woods people who are quite safe. Now, there's some outliers that make things a little bit dicey, but any place that I've ridden, whether it's Old Friars Gate, New Friars Gate, across the road into Murraywood, you mentioned, was it Coatesworth and whatnot? I've ridden in Shucks Nursery Hill. All of those areas, as long as I stay off the main arteries, I feel pretty good. But once I get on a main artery, if it's 4 lanes, I still feel pretty good because there's room for cars to get around. It's when you're on a narrow 2-lane road where there's no shoulder whatsoever that things can get a little bit dicey as a bicyclist. But by and large, the folks around here they're trying to drive safe, and they have no interest in running you over or running you off the road. I have had folks yell at me to get on the sidewalk, but then that's not safe for walkers, you know. So, but yeah, things to calm traffic, to slow things down. Guys, I know there's not enough of you to enforce the speed limits that we have. I mean, you do all you can with the few that you have. So some sort of physical things like stop signs, again, they're aspirational. Most folks won't totally stop for them, but they will slow down, and that's very helpful for a cyclist. And not all cyclists are great either. We'll blow through a stop sign and put a driver into a bad position. So more conversation on it is great as roads are being worked on. If wider shoulders can be added and those designated as bike lanes, it helps. The only thing about a bike lane is it's got to be kept clear, though. If it's full of rocks and broken glass and pieces of metal, I won't ride in it because I'm gonna blow a tire. I've had that happen before with a brand new tire, brand new tube, where you know that's part of the process as well. But hats off to all y'all. This is a great town. I wish I lived in your town, and thanks for letting me ride in it.
I know you.
Well, I don't want to go back to the calming things down, but we invested recently in a brand new speed limit trailer. Is that what we call them, Chief? Speed trailer. Well, speed limit trailer. And I see those things, and they get my attention, usually because the number's flashing and it's over what it's supposed to be. But I drive very carefully when I'm over the speed limit. But the reality is, do you all think they work? I mean, do you think it, because, you know, you want to talk about slowing traffic. What did we spend for those? About 10 grand, 9 grand? I mean, imagine if we had 10 of those around the town of Irmo. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but if they work, maybe we need to figure out a way of getting more of them. And we talked about this at council, whether we put them up high and make them permanent or whether we use them as mobile and deal with those issues. So I just wanted to get everybody's feedback as to whether they think they worked or not, because they worked for me.
They put it on the corner of, I live on Columbia Avenue down right at Columbiana. And they put one in the corner of our neighbor's yard, and it'll wake you up. I mean, I drive an 8,000-pound truck, and I come down through there, and it'll get away from you sometimes, and you just, hey, dummy, slow down. Because, I mean, with gas $3 a gallon, I don't speak very much, but, you know, it does wake you up a little bit.
I mean, that's technically part of traffic calming, right? Is to get people to be more aware, pay attention to something. Yeah.
Question on the bike line. Is Royal Tower wide enough? I don't think anybody's parking on that street like they do on the other streets. But it is one of the widest streets in the neighborhood. What if like he says, you can ride your bike in the other streets pretty safely. There's a few that not. But if Roll Tower had the bike area, would that help?
Yeah, Archer's Lane has bike lanes both sides. And that helps immeasurably because it does define where the automobile should be and where something other than an automobile should be. So if it can be marked, yeah, it's going to help. I got to perceive from the fact that most people want to do the right thing. They just need a little bit of help. Like that flashing sign makes you and I kind of go, whoa, I'm not paying attention. I might need to slow down some. So yeah, things like that do help.
If we're talking aspirational here, we've had a dream for almost 30 years now to have a river greenway that connects Lake Murray to the Vista. We're closer now than we ever have been before, with the Lexington County piece being the one piece that needs to be completed. And we're getting an awful lot of support to getting that done. So my hope would be that the town of Irmo, in all your planning, would be to look at the town's major arteries and see where there would be opportunities to add bike lanes and pedestrian traffic to connect to that river greenway. Because when that's done, that will make the town of Irmo transformed into a town where young people are going to want to live and bring their families. And that, I think that's what we're looking for. And I think we're close if we all work together to make that happen. If you're not familiar with where that could happen on a map, I'd love to sit down and talk to you, but I know that some of you have been talking with Central Midlands, and Gregory Sprouse has been drawing maps for years to help us understand how we could all be connected that way. So I just wanted to put that on the record, that I'm really excited that the town is interested.
I just wanted to thank Elizabeth. She shared that plan with me over 2.5 years ago, and I carry that plan with me in my binder everywhere I go to show people, because I'm going to have this up here where everybody can look and you can get a great idea of what she is talking about. It defines all those areas and lays it out what they're trying to do. And I say we because I'm bought in. For me, what we have in Irmo is a great opportunity, a very special opportunity that other places don't have. We're strategically located at the lake. What she's talking about is going to be going to the lake. Also, the Rawls Creek Golf Course is part of that now, and there's biking and walking paths in there. I live on there, and all those will connect to it as well. And in combination with the Harbison area, with those Harbison paths, which in some way could possibly be connected as well, and they're drawing maps on that right now. So that puts us, Irmo, center of all that, where we can have almost a special type of tourism that people will want to come stay here for biking. You're right on the river, you have the lake, and we can incorporate all these different things, residential safety concerns and also macro safety concerns for larger traffic problems and opportunities to put these bike lanes in and connect them with Lake Murray Boulevard has them on there, and we can direct those to the paths. All these things are possible. As far as like Mr. Chitwood was talking about, ideas for in the residential areas, if speed humps are an option, to find painting on the roads, shorter distances between the stripings makes you seem like you're going faster and naturally makes you slow down. Narrowing the lanes, putting in a bike lane, all those things are possible and very easy to do, I think. So I wanted to thank you for coming. I actually invited her to come because I wanted her to have a voice and to bring that up. And so I just wanted to thank you for that work as well.
I want to thank Beach as well, who brought the tasty coffee, if you had any of that, from Loveland Coffee. All right, anything else? Anyone else have a thing that, yeah?
I don't know where this fits in.
That's all right. We're open course now.
I was just thinking about, I guess that's Lake Murray Boulevard going out towards the dam. Now, I should know because I'm on the zoning board, but I don't exactly know where the town limit stops. But it seems like we need to start looking at trying to move the town limit out that way before Columbia decides to figure out a way to sneak in and take up some of that prime property that could be, in generating revenue in the town of Irmo.
We're trying, yeah. Yeah. It's piece by piece. Anyone else? Yeah.
I've lived here 2 years and travel down Royal Tower 2 or 3 times a day and was curious about a possible traffic study where the old car wash, I pretty much know why it's not in business anymore. That's usually a hot spot for problems. But just some of the traffic there is, you question why somebody did something, because it makes no sense. No passing, obviously you don't want to run into another car, but why is there no lane there? There's no turn lane, and the only people that are using that turn lane don't live in that community. They're, as we said, cutting through. A lot of that could be reshaped. A couple of islands, put the islands out there, that would definitely slow down the traffic. I'm all for businesses, and I'm gonna tell you that daycare business really does good business. I wish we could pick them up and move them, though, into that big field by the church and give them plenty of room to have all their people, because that place in the morning, thank God, I go to church, I go to work at 5:30 in the morning, so I don't have to deal with it. But I've been through there on my days off, and the traffic that's just sitting, and I'm surprised people haven't been killed in that intersection. And speaking of DOT, I'm not sure who times the lights, but if you go through that intersection at 5:30 in the morning, when you go under the light, it's changed before you can get through the intersection. So technically, you could write a ticket. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. And kudos to whoever sits in the morning and writes tickets there, because I appreciate that. People that speed through that area get the welcome in the mornings. And when the trailer was down there, it was working very well. I forget the road I turn on, but it's right at that blind spot. The traffic there, when I do retire, if y'all want a part-time traffic officer, I'll be happy to come write tickets for you, because I will write some tickets. But, speaking to people riding your bumpers, one of my neighbors did it to me. He didn't know it was me. And we had a conversation, and I said, "You're older than I am. You had something happening today?" I mean, it's just, people want to live their lives, but I'm so scared to see little kids get killed. And speaking to a bike lane on Royal Tower, that's fine, and I don't want to get negative, but there's no real rules on where we put our trash cans. And if you've driven down that road, you know what I'm talking about. You're doing this, because some people stick them out in the middle of the road. And to add to the speeding, let's talk about our school buses. Because when they come over, I live on Bow Church, and that lady, I'm surprised, has not run over cars. She's got a tough job, I just sometimes just people just need a little discussion, and that solves some of the behavior problems. But no, we really enjoy living in the town, and I like to be part of helping solve some of the problems, because they can be. All these problems can be solved. We had talked about some of that same intersection. You always see it every single day. What's going on with the sidewalk? Who's responsible for that? That's been almost 2 years now. It's been behind tape. And I've seen people walk through there and jog through there, and they're in the middle of the road. And let's not talk about the railroad tracks that will have to be fixed again here in probably another 6 months. Instead of the long-term fix, which like Woodrow at Irmo Wellness, where you have concrete, those last forever. Instead of that, they're going to put something in they know they're going to have to replace. I don't understand. I moved up from Beaufort County, Jasper County areas, and I was just curious, and y'all might already do this here. Some of the subdivisions, I know there's a lot of contention about them coming in, bringing traffic, et cetera. What kind of impact fees do you guys put on them? Because I can tell you, Beaufort County, it will double, triple the cost. And a lot of those developers won't come in because of that problem. But when they do come in, things get fixed. The intersections and the roadways are fixed before they can build. The streetlights are already in. And you don't have some of the problems, the growth problems. And believe me, they're not perfect. But when it comes to growth, and like the town of Hardyville, I think they're the fastest growing city in the state right now. I worked in that county. I was in law enforcement for 22 years. And there's a lot of growing pains there. Retirees from Sun City saved that city because they had a lot of retirees with backgrounds that could really help them.
To answer your question, I would just very briefly answer your question. I ran on that a couple of years ago.
Sure.
Council was impact fees, and we're still discussing those because we are having those growing pains. But my thought is not to diminish or necessarily slow the development. My thought is to basically improve the conditions around and make the builders have an investment, the developers have an investment. They're not getting water for free. They're not getting sewer hookups for free, right? So we have to take care of those intersections, those roads. We have to put sidewalks in, do whatever has to be done. And the only way we can do that is with impact fees. Now, yes, it gets charged to the end user, but I just looked, our houses in the last 8 months have increased 30% in the Midlands. Now, I know that's not sustainable, but those are the kind of things we need to look at, especially as a town with no taxes, is an impact fee. And it's not unreasonable. So we have talked about that, and we are going to be continuing that.
Some cases, yeah.
I just want to respond to your statement about the school buses. I work for Lexington District 5 in the transportation department. The director of transportation, what he's done in the last 2 years, all of our buses have GPSs on them, and they're monitored live. So we can pull it up, and we can go back. I can go back 30 days and pull up a bus by the state number. And the number on the bus, the 7-digit number, that's the state number. That's not the number to call to get someone. Our buses are state-owned. But if anyone ever has an issue with the bus that's speeding, the director of transportation, which is Mr. Dave Wiseman, would be very interested in talking to you. Okay? I can give you that information. Okay.
Look at that. Get people in a room and stuff starts getting solved. So we don't have to be here all night. My goal was to hear what the problems and issues were. I did want to let Mr. Klein talk about how to report potholes, other than just going on Facebook.
What you're going to need to do is, if you've got a pothole in your road and it's a county road, you got to figure out whether you're in Richland County or Lexington County. You should know what county you're in at your house. Call the county and they will fix the potholes. They're very good about fixing the potholes. And now if it's a state road, and that's where the problem comes in, because you don't know, there's a part of North Royal Tower is a state road. You don't know where it starts and when it stops. But you can go to SCDOT's website, and it'll give you the information of where that pothole is located. And if it's a state road, you can submit it on their website.
Chief, you want to say anything on wrapping up?
So as far as the speed trailer goes, we were talking about earlier, encourage your neighbors to contact us if you identify an area somewhere in your neighborhood that you think there's speeding going on. It collects data while it's sitting there, and it can tell us the best time for us. I say best time for us, not the public, but the best time for us to sit and enforce the speed limit. It will, I try to leave it out for several weeks, and it will actually tell us when the most traffic is coming through, on which day and which hour. So now I don't have to guess and tell an officer, go out sometime during your shift and sit and enforce the speed limit on Columbia Avenue. I can tell them on Tuesday between 2 and 3 o'clock, that's when you're going to see most speeders coming through there because they're leaving Midlands Tech or wherever. So it doesn't just sit and flash. We actually use it for the data as well. So just let your neighbors know to contact us, and we'll be able to put it out wherever you need it.
Funny story, not that there's anything funny about it, but funny story, we approved the purchase of this new one we had. We got this trailer, and Mayor Barry back there will confirm, but where did your predecessor, Chief Dennis, put that trailer? On Irmo Drive, which I drive up and down all day long. He stuck it on Irmo Drive. So I said, what the heck? I'm cutting my own throat here.
Mayor, did you want to say anything in wrapping up? No? Okay. All right. Well, then we can wrap. I appreciate you being here. And please do put like a name and email if you want to be contacted for the next meeting. And if you want follow up on, if we end up doing like some kind of a working group, even if it's just over email and maybe one meeting, there is the dream of mine is that we pick a road where people speed and we set up a calming weekend, and we put out cones and we tell people to slow down. That's just my little pet project. And by the way, I should say Council-elect Barb Waldman is here as well. You can always know because she's got the mask on up front. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.